And it was funny because in North Korean comedy, all they were trying to do was, making a point about how wonderful our president in North Korea was. But in America, their all point they were making was how horrible the president here in America was. There is so much depth the comedy explores here in USA. Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Yeonmi Park. I'm a North Korean defector, human rights activist. Today in this video, I'm going to talk about something very fun. The comedy, difference between North Korea's comedy and the American comedy. I did so much a lot of comics from Canada as well actually. So I love watching stand-up comedies, and when I was living in New York, I would go to Greenwich Village and go to these comedy shows at night, like begins at 11 p.m. And there are a lot of standing up comics come, and it was really fun. In the beginning, I did have some challenge because my English wasn't good enough to get all those nuances, but as I was keep going, I was gotten better at it. The best way to learn the language, in my opinion, is like learning their humors and jokes. What surprised me about the comedy in the West, in the USA, was actually the certain theme they got. What I thought was very interesting is a lot of comics were making really fun of sex. They really just keep making fun of sex, and in the beginning, I didn't really get it, why, coming from somewhere like conservative culture, it made me a little bit uncomfortable, and now I'm like, it's fine, it's like freedom, why, it's fine. But in the beginning, it was really new to me, because in North Korean comedy, we don't talk about sex, unfortunately. We cannot talk about any sexual parts or none of that. And even in comedy, they have to make a point about the greatness of the party and also glorify Kim dictators. Even in humor, they have to do it. So can you imagine how creative North Korean comics must be so they can make that even propaganda funny to the people?
여기 안면 청년 발수건설장을 찾으신 우리 장군님께서 그 위험하고 험한 물길로 서슴없이 들어섰을 때 그의 모습을 오르며 그이와 끝까지 생사운명을 같이하겠다고 맹세하는 우리들이 아닙니까? 지금 이 시각도 우리 장군님께서는 조국과 인민을 위해.
However, North Koreans love these comedy shows, and a lot of stand-up comedians in North Korea that was loved by all North Korean people. And in a way, I really feel like maybe, I don't know, it's an old human thing. North Korean people love watching movies and they love seeing comedians. And I feel like really the same thing in America. I feel like Americans love going to movie nights and seeing comedians. Even though we consume different almost products, but almost our love for comedy and movies were very similar with passion. Another trend that I saw in the US comedies, especially in the TV shows like Daily Show, all other shows, their theme is making fun of presidents, especially Trump.
All right, here we go. All right, 3 a.m. Time for a tweet storm. Let's see what I can pinch out. Crooked Hillary, along with Jay-Z and Beyonce Z.
Unfortunately, I don't really know the time before Trump, because when I came to America, that's Trump was already running for the president and won the presidency right away. So I only know America after Trump in a way. So I have no comparison. And it was funny because in North Korean comedy, all they were trying to do was, making a point about how wonderful our president in North Korea was. But in America, their all point they were making was how horrible the president here in America was. And I was thinking how can it be this much extreme than North Korea and America? In some ways, I think it is just really interesting. Till this day, I don't know what to make up of it, but I like both ways. So to going back more into North Korean comedy, they can tackle is a lot of times about, the funny propaganda that South Korean soldiers playing in the DMZ. So the comedy that I remember that was watching, the North Korean soldiers were making fun of South Korean soldiers on the DMZ, where they're showing these empty cans having, nothing, no food inside, and by showing to North Korean soldiers like, hey, North Korean soldiers, we have so much food here, do you envy us? But in reality, they are very poor. They didn't actually have any food. Those are like empty decorations. However, in North Korean side, they have really abundance of meat and fresh vegetable. And now I'm thinking about it, that was a completely opposite. North Korean soldiers were faking it that they have everything, and South Koreans are the one actually had everything, but somehow they were just making this comedy to brainwash North Koreans that which Korea was actually better. And it was like, interestingly enough, like every comedy in North Korea had to end up with some kind of message they were giving to people to become a better revolutionary. And in America, the comedy that I love the most was about, they were, in a way, it's like in life there's so much darkness, but they can make a light out of it. Like one of the comics that I remember seeing was about the parenthood and how to raise children, about relationship, the difficulties of being a modern human. And aside all those politics, I think there is so much depth the comedy explores here in USA, and it is just so beautiful, like how human minds can be that creative and that imaginative and bring the issues that is dark and hard to talk about with such a lightness and in a very playful way. And I think this is the reason why I'm making this video is that we just had the election. I'm actually making this video on the election day, and I don't know the result is gonna be. However it turns out, I just want to tell you that I think whatever the result is gonna be, I'm sure if you decide to see some light and positivity in it, you can find it. And also the thing is that whoever you cheered for this time during this election, do not give up. Fight for it fair. Do not use of violence. Do not harm other people. Use it in a just way. Of course, like I'm as a person, I have a side that I'm cheering for, and I think it is very natural that we all have preference, and that's wonderful. We got variety in the candidates, and I'm sure one of them gonna lose, and I think that's what life is. We lose, we win sometimes, and it is all about being resilient at this time. It seems future is very dark and hopeless, but we have to be resilient, otherwise we can't survive anymore. And that's what really kept me and a lot of people going when they escape from North Korea. I think what we have to learn, the first thing is like being resilient and being grateful and not being bitter about anything. So it is a hard time to be not bitter, and it's hard time not to be complaining. I was like, this is election day. Last night I woke up from nightmare where I had this dream. Clearly I made something very wrong statement, and people were like using the gun to try to shoot at me and ask me to criticize and what have I done wrong. And it was almost when I was in childhood doing the self-criticism session where I had to keep repenting how bad I was as an individual and how wrong I was, and all the people will keep criticizing and really hating each other and trying to see each other as an enemy. And I don't know why that dream came to me last night, and it really made me scared that in a way I still wasn't feel safe enough about having a free speech and waking up this from nightmare. But I'm smiling today because still we have a chance to fight back no matter what. We are going to guard our democracy and freedom. that we cherish, and we have the freedom to make fun of anything here. And I think that's what I was like talking about this comedy. It's gonna be dark time, it's gonna be tough time some people, but let's see some humor in it. Let's just see some goodness in it, and we can carry on and we can fight back no matter what. So guys, I send you all my best wishes, and in your during tough time, whatever you are going through, I just hope that you don't give up your hope, and we come out through this stronger, and also we find new value in freedom, that how precious this is. Thank you again for watching my video, and I look forward to seeing you all next time.